Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle no matter how hard they work? What if I told you there exists a precise science for becoming rich, one that works as reliably as mathematics, a method so powerful that anyone who follows it with faith and consistent action will achieve wealth regardless of age, gender, or current financial status? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from. Today, it's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. The truth about wealth creation has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. Most of us have been programmed to believe that financial success depends on luck, inheritance, or connections. We've been taught that opportunities are scarce and that wealth is reserved for a privileged few. But I'm here to challenge everything you think you know about prosperity. Has this ever happened to you? You work tirelessly, follow conventional wisdom about saving and investing, yet financial freedom seems to slip further away with each passing year. If so, you're not alone. And more importantly, it's not your fault. What we're about to explore together isn't another get-rich-quick scheme or motivational pep talk. It's a fundamental understanding of how universal laws operate invisibly but consistently in our lives. These laws govern the flow of abundance just as surely as gravity governs the physical world. When mastered, money, opportunities, and success begin to flow naturally, not by chance but by design. Stay with me until the end of this journey, because what separates those who achieve extraordinary wealth from those who don't isn't talent or resources. It's their understanding of these invisible principles and their commitment to applying them with unwavering faith. Think about it. Every invention, every fortune, every empire began as a thought in someone's mind. That thought, when held with clarity and backed by consistent action, materialized into physical reality. This isn't mysticism, it's a practical application of how the universe actually works. What you're about to discover might surprise you, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that wealth creation is complex or reserved for the lucky few. The most powerful truths are often the simplest, hidden behind our complicated thinking and limiting beliefs. The science of wealth isn't about manipulating markets or exploiting others. It's about aligning yourself with the natural flow of abundance that already exists all around us. It's about becoming a conscious creator rather than a passive recipient of circumstances. As we dive deeper into these principles, you'll begin to recognize patterns in your own life, moments when you've unknowingly applied these laws and experienced positive results, as well as times when you've blocked your own prosperity without realizing it. The question isn't whether these laws work, but whether you're ready to work with them as effectively as they work with everyone else. Let me share with you what's really happening beneath the surface of financial struggle. Join our community of conscious creators by subscribing to this channel. Together, we're mastering the science of prosperity that most people never discover. The most profound transformation begins when we recognize the invisible prison most people live in, a prison without bars, built entirely of thoughts. This mental cage is what I call the scarcity mindset. You've heard it, maybe even said it yourself. There isn't enough to go around, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are just lucky, or wealth is for others, not for me. These aren't innocent observations. They're powerful programming that shapes your reality. Every time you repeat these limiting beliefs, you're reinforcing neural pathways that make scarcity seem like the only truth. The fascinating revelation here is that while you're conscious, mind accepts these limitations, a deeper part of you rebels against them. That restlessness you feel, that sense that you were meant for more. It's not wishful thinking, it's your authentic self recognizing that you were born for abundance. The universe itself operates on expansion, not contraction. Look at nature. Everything grows, evolves, and multiplies. A single seed doesn't yield just one fruit. but hundreds. The cosmos isn't designed for scarcity, it's designed for overwhelming abundance. And you, as part of this universe, are naturally aligned with this principle of expansion. Now here's where the journey gets truly fascinating. The acquisition of wealth isn't random or dependent on favorable circumstances as most believe. There exists a specific method, a way of thinking and acting that produces wealth with the same reliability that planting a seed produces a plant. Those who understand this method and apply it consistently will inevitably become wealthy. This isn't hopeful thinking. It's as dependable as gravity. The hidden truth that few discover is that the universe responds to how you operate, not to what you wish for. When you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the laws of prosperity, wealth flows to you, not by accident but by design. This alignment creates a powerful resonance that begins to reshape your external reality. Think of it as learning the language that the universe speaks. When you communicate in this language, through your focused thoughts, your genuine emotions, and your decisive actions, you're giving clear instructions that cannot be ignored. The impact of this shift in communication is nothing short of revolutionary. Many people mistakenly believe that their financial situation is a reflection of their worth or their luck. In reality, it's simply feedback about how well they understand and apply these universal principles. Your current circumstances are not your destiny. They're merely the result of your past. Understanding, as your awareness expands, so will your material reality. The most profound mindset shift happens when you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start recognizing yourself as a creator of circumstances. This isn't about positive thinking alone. It's about aligning your entire being with the way wealth naturally flows. When you do this consistently, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. I've witnessed countless individuals undergo this remarkable journey of transformation. People who started with nothing but a willingness to learn and apply these principles systematically. They didn't have special advantages or lucky breaks. They simply understood that wealth creation follows specific patterns, and they committed to mastering those patterns. The decisions you make today about how you view wealth will shape every aspect of your financial future. Will you continue accepting the programmed limitations of scarcity thinking, or will you embrace the expansive truth that abundance is your natural state? Write, "I choose abundance" in the comments if you're ready to break free from the mental cage that's been limiting your prosperity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what actually happens when you begin to align yourself with these universal laws of wealth. When you begin to truly grasp these universal laws of wealth, something profound happens. The knowledge itself creates a fundamental shift in your consciousness that many have described as both rare and, in a way, dangerous. Dangerous not because it can harm you, but because once this revelation takes hold, you can never go back to accepting mediocrity in your life. This transformation is irreversible, like seeing a hidden pattern that was always there, but invisible to your untrained eye. The awakening process doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds gradually as you begin to recognize how the invisible architecture of wealth creation has been operating around you all along. Suddenly, you notice opportunities where before you saw obstacles. You recognize patterns of abundance where you once perceived only limitation. This isn't wishful thinking. It's a fundamental recalibration of your perception. What makes this knowledge so powerful is that it doesn't require any external validation. The moment you begin applying these principles, you experience their truth directly. Your relationship with money transforms from one of anxiety and struggle to one of partnership and flow. This inner revelation is what separates those who talk about wealth from those who actually create it. Behind the scenes of every fortune ever built stands this exact same understanding. The wealthy aren't operating with different tools, they're operating with different awareness. They've accessed this transformative knowledge and allowed it to reshape not just their actions, but their entire identity. The power to change everything truly does lie within your consciousness. Now, here's where many spiritual and philosophical traditions have created confusion. We've been conditioned to believe that desiring wealth is somehow greedy or materialistic, that spiritual people shouldn't concern themselves with money. This artificial division between material success and spiritual fulfillment has kept countless people trapped in unnecessary limitation. If you want to continue exploring these powerful principles of wealth creation, hit the subscribe button. Now, the enlightening truth is that no one can live a full life or completely develop their soul and body without being rich. This isn't about excess or indulgence. It's about having the resources necessary to express your full potential. Money provides food, clothing, shelter, education, recreation, and perhaps most importantly, freedom. These aren't luxuries. They're the essential foundation for human development. Think about how many brilliant minds throughout history never realized their potential simply because they lacked the resources to study, travel, or pursue their ideas. Consider how many artists never created their masterpieces because they were consumed with basic survival. The tragedy isn't in wanting wealth, it's in believing you shouldn't want it. When you examine nature itself, you see that life always pushes toward more expression, more growth, more expansion. A seed doesn't aim to become a small, stunted plant. It strives to become the fullest tree it can possibly be. Your desire for prosperity isn't separate from this universal impulse toward greater expression. It's a natural extension of life's fundamental journey toward fulfillment. The mindset revolution happens when you recognize that your right to abundance isn't something you need to apologize for or justify. It's your birthright, as natural as your right to breathe fresh air or drink clean water. The universe itself operates on principles of expansion and abundance. Look at the stars in the sky, the leaves on the trees, the cells in your body. Everywhere you look, you see nature's tendency toward multiplication and growth. What's truly remarkable about this journey is how it affects not just your financial reality, but your entire being. As your consciousness expands to embrace abundance, you'll notice shifts in your relationships, your creativity, your sense of purpose, and your impact on others. The ripple effects of this transformation extend far beyond your bank account. Many people remain trapped in poverty consciousness not because they lack ability or opportunity, but because they've never given themselves permission to claim their natural state of abundance. They've accepted a narrative about money that simply doesn't align with the deeper truths of how our universe functions. When you release these limiting stories, you open the door to possibilities that were always there, waiting for you to recognize them. If you're beginning to feel a resonance with these ideas, if something inside you is saying, "This is truth," comment with the phrase, "I claim my birthright to abundance." And let's continue exploring how these principles actually manifest in your daily reality. The foundation we've established about your inherent right to prosperity now leads us to understanding the creative mechanism that actually brings wealth into physical form. This creative mechanism I'm about to reveal works through a profound understanding of wealth's true purpose. Many people pursue money simply to have more things, but the deeper truth is that wealth serves as a vehicle for your complete human development. Without sufficient resources, the mind cannot fully expand, the body cannot be properly cared for, and the soul cannot grow to its intended capacity. Imagine a brilliant musician who can never afford proper instruments, or a visionary inventor who lacks the materials to build their prototypes. Consider the researcher who must abandon their groundbreaking work to take a survival job, or the healer who cannot afford the education that would multiply their impact. These aren't just economic limitations, they're spiritual amputations of human potential. The hidden truth that transforms your relationship with money is recognizing that wealth isn't some luxury or indulgence. It's the natural means through which you reach your maximum potential and fulfill your unique purpose. When you embrace this perspective, the pursuit of prosperity becomes not just permissible but essential to your life's journey. This revelation shifts everything because it aligns your financial goals with your deepest values. You're no longer chasing money for ego or status. You're creating resources that fuel your authentic expression and contribution. This alignment generates a powerful resonance that accelerates manifestation because you're no longer conflicted about whether you should want wealth. Behind every great human achievement stands the foundation of sufficient resources. The magnificent cathedrals, the life-saving medical breakthroughs, the technological innovations that connect humanity, none would exist without the financial fuel to bring them from conception into reality. Your own dreams deserve this same material support. Now we must confront an uncomfortable truth. Poverty fundamentally limits human potential. This isn't about judgment, it's about clear-eyed recognition of how scarcity constrains possibilities. Yes, people can find moments of joy and meaning even in limited circumstances. The human spirit is remarkably resilient. But these moments of happiness don't negate the broader limitations that scarcity imposes. When your energy is consumed by survival concerns, how to pay next month's rent, whether you can afford necessary medical care, how to stretch insufficient food, your cognitive bandwidth for creativity, innovation, and personal development becomes severely restricted. This isn't theory. It's been documented in multiple psychological studies on the effects of scarcity on decision-making and cognition. The wisdom traditions teach us that each soul comes to this world with unique gifts to develop and share, but these gifts require nurturing, training, time, and resources to fully bloom. A painter needs canvas and pigments. A writer needs time and space. A teacher needs education. A healer needs training. All of these pathways to expression require material support. What's particularly insidious about financial limitation is how it gradually diminishes your vision of what's possible. When you've lived with not enough for years or decades, you begin to internalize those boundaries. Your dreams contract. Your sense of what you deserve shrinks. You stop imagining expansive possibilities because the pain of unfulfilled desire becomes too great. This mental constriction represents the most devastating impact of material scarcity. It eventually creates spiritual and psychological scarcity as well. You cannot expand to your maximum expression when your environment constantly reinforces limitation. The transformation begins when you recognize this pattern and make the conscious decision to break it. Understanding this relationship between resources and human potential doesn't make you materialistic. It makes you realistic about the conditions required for full human flowering. Just as a plant needs soil, water, and sunlight to grow, your development requires certain material conditions to support it. Acknowledging this truth is the first step toward creating those conditions intentionally. The journey toward prosperity isn't just about accumulating money. It's about removing the artificial ceiling that's been placed on your potential. It's about creating the space, freedom, and resources for your authentic self to fully emerge and express. If you're feeling a resonance with this deeper understanding of wealth's purpose, type "I'm removing the ceiling" in the comments. When you truly understand that wealth is meant to serve your complete development, you naturally begin to wonder about the creative process that allows you to generate it. This brings us to the fascinating concept of the original substance from which all physical reality emerges. At the core of wealth creation lies what may be the most misunderstood aspect of abundance, the claiming process. Many people approach wealth with an attitude of begging or hoping, repeating affirmations while their deeper feelings contradict every word. They say, "I am wealthy," while feeling utterly unworthy of prosperity. They visualize abundance while harboring guilt about wanting more than they currently have. This internal contradiction creates a divided signal that the universe cannot clearly respond to. The breakthrough moment in your prosperity journey happens when you make a profound inner shift from hoping for abundance to claiming it as your divine birthright. This isn't arrogance or entitlement, it's an awakening to the truth of your relationship with the universal flow of prosperity. Just as you don't need to beg for air to breathe, you don't need to plead for the abundance that is your natural state. This revelation transforms your entire approach to wealth creation. Instead of seeing yourself as an outsider, desperately trying to get in, you recognize yourself as an insider who is simply activating what was always meant for you. The energy signature of this recognition resonates at a completely different frequency, one that opens channels of prosperity that remain closed to those still operating from unworthiness. Behind every great fortune stands this fundamental understanding. Those who manifest extraordinary abundance don't spend their energy wondering if they deserve it. They've settled that question at the deepest level of their being. They approach life from a mindset of course this is for me, rather than maybe if I'm lucky. This seemingly subtle distinction creates dramatically different outcomes. The universal intelligence responds not to your words or even your conscious thoughts, but to the underlying energy pattern of your entire being. When every cell in your body resonates with the truth that abundance is your natural state, doors begin to open that previously seemed locked. Opportunities arise that were invisible before. Resources flow toward you rather than away from you. This explains why two people can apply the exact same prosperity techniques with radically different results. One person performs the practices as a desperate attempt to fix what they perceive as broken, while the other engages the same practices as a natural extension of what they already know to be true. The second person inevitably manifests more rapidly and sustainably. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the universal pattern behind all creation. Have you ever noticed how everything in nature moves toward expansion? A seed doesn't. Sit contentedly in the ground thinking, well, I'm just a seed, and that's enough. Every seed contains the blueprint and the driving force to become a full-grown tree bearing fruit and creating more seeds. This pattern reveals a profound truth. The universe itself operates on a principle of continuous expansion. Nothing in nature remains static. It either grows or it dies. The same natural law applies to your prosperity journey. The desire you feel for greater abundance, impact, and expression isn't random or materialistic. It's life itself, fulfilling its fundamental purpose through you. When you understand this hidden truth, you realize that your ambition for growth isn't something to apologize for or diminish. It's the voice of life speaking through you, urging you toward your fullest expression. Just as a river naturally seeks to flow to the ocean, your being naturally seeks to expand into its complete potential. The transformation in your prosperity consciousness happens when you align your decisions with this natural law of expansion. Instead of fighting against your desires for growth, you recognize them as the compass pointing toward your authentic path. This alignment eliminates the internal resistance that has been blocking your wealth manifestation. Many spiritual traditions have inadvertently created guilt around material desires, suggesting that wanting more somehow makes you less evolved. But this perspective misunderstands the fundamental nature of life itself. The impulse toward greater expression, whether through creativity, impact, relationships, or material prosperity, is woven into the very fabric of existence. Your journey toward abundance is not separate from your spiritual path. It's an integral part of it. When you embrace the natural law of expansion, you allow life to flow through you without restriction, creating prosperity not just for yourself, but for everyone your expanded presence touches. If this perspective resonates with your inner knowing, type "expansion is my nature" in the comments. The recognition of your birthright to abundance and the natural law of expansion prepares you to understand an even more fundamental principle, the original substance from which all physical reality, including wealth, emerges. Now we arrive at perhaps the most liberating insight on this journey, one that shatters the fundamental misconception keeping most people trapped in scarcity consciousness. There is enough wealth in the world for everyone. This isn't wishful thinking or naive optimism. It's a demonstrable reality that transforms your entire relationship with abundance. Consider this revelation. The universe operates on principles of expansion and multiplication, not division and subtraction. When someone creates wealth, they aren't taking from a fixed pie that leaves less for others. They're actually expanding the total amount of prosperity available to all. This understanding dismantles the zero-sum thinking that creates unnecessary competition and limitation. Look at human history. We've consistently created more abundance over time, not less. New ideas, technologies, and innovations continuously generate wealth that didn't exist before. A single seed planted becomes a tree bearing thousands of seeds. A single idea implemented creates value that touches countless lives. This multiplication happens everywhere when you know how to recognize it. The paradigm shift occurs when you stop seeing wealth as a scarce resource to fight over and start seeing it as an ever-expanding energy that naturally flows toward those who understand its nature. The universe isn't designed with shortages, it's designed with overwhelming abundance. Your task isn't to grab what you can before it runs out, it's simply to align yourself with this infinite flow. Most people remain trapped in lack because they've been conditioned to focus on the absence rather than the presence of what they desire. They see empty bank accounts instead of abundant opportunities. They notice what others have that they don't, instead of recognizing the unique pathways to prosperity available to them right now. This inverted focus creates a blindness to the abundance that surrounds them daily. The internal revolution begins when you make a conscious decision to attune yourself to abundance rather than scarcity. Like adjusting the frequency on a radio, you begin to pick up signals that were always broadcasting, but were previously outside your range of perception. Opportunities, connections, and resources that were invisible suddenly become apparent. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the metaphysical foundation of all prosperity. Behind the physical world of form exists what ancient wisdom traditions and modern quantum physics both recognize: an original substance, a formless intelligence from which all material reality emerges. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's the operating system of creation itself. This original substance is intelligent, responsive, and omnipresent. It flows into any form that human thought consistently impresses upon it. When you understand this principle, you realize that your mind isn't merely perceiving reality, it's actively participating in creating it. Your thoughts are not passive observers, but powerful architects of your experience. The transformative insight is that this substance responds to thought with mathematical precision. Whatever you imagine, clearly, feel deeply, and hold with unwavering faith will eventually materialize in your physical reality. This isn't magical thinking. It's the fundamental creative mechanism of the universe that has been operating all along, whether you were aware of it or not. This original substance doesn't judge your thoughts as good or bad, worthy or unworthy. It simply responds to what you consistently impress upon it. When you focus on lack, it faithfully creates more experiences of lack. When you focus on abundance with clarity and emotional intensity, it begins reshaping your reality to reflect that focus. The journey of awakening involves recognizing yourself as a conscious participant in this creative process, rather than a passive victim of circumstances. You begin to monitor your thought patterns with greater awareness, understanding that each mental image is a blueprint being submitted to this responsive intelligence. What's particularly liberating about this understanding is that it places the tools of creation directly in your hands. You don't need special connections, privileges, or advantages to access this creative power. The original substance responds equally to everyone who understands and applies its principles consistently. This revelation doesn't mean instant manifestation. The physical world operates with certain timing and processes, but it does mean inevitable manifestation when you maintain clear focus and aligned action. If this profound understanding is beginning to resonate with something you've always intuitively known, write "I am a conscious creator" in the comments. The recognition that you're working with an intelligent, responsive substance changes everything about how you approach wealth creation. But there's an essential element that determines how effectively this substance responds to your thoughts. This fundamental understanding about the original substance leads us to an even more liberating insight. There is no real scarcity in the universe. Look around you. Everything you see, from majestic mountains to sprawling cities, from vast oceans to technological marvels, from humble homes to global businesses, all of it emerged from the same invisible, infinite, and perfectly malleable source. This revelation transforms your entire perception of possibility. If everything visible came from this formless substance that responds to thought, then there can be no fixed limit to wealth creation. The only true limitation is our understanding of how to work with this responsive intelligence. Those who have mastered this understanding can manifest prosperity regardless of economic conditions, background, or external circumstances. Think about the journey of human innovation throughout history. At every stage, people declared certain achievements impossible, until someone who didn't accept those limitations envisioned something new. Flight was impossible until the Wright brothers saw it clearly in their minds. Instant global communication was a fantasy until inventors held that image with such conviction that it reshaped our reality. Behind every breakthrough stands this same process: clear vision impressed upon the original substance. The paradigm shift happens when you realize that scarcity is fundamentally an illusion, a powerful and persistent one, but an illusion nonetheless. The appearance of limited resources comes not from actual limitations in the universe, but from limited understanding of how to access and direct the original substance that is infinitely abundant. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing your true identity in this creative process. You are not merely a physical being navigating a pre-existing world. You are a center of conscious thought, capable of impressing images upon this formless substance. Your mind is literally a creative force in the universe, not metaphorically but actually. This understanding places you in a position of remarkable power and responsibility. The world you experience isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. Your thoughts aren't passive observers of reality, they're active participants in creating it. Each person functions as a broadcasting station, continuously sending signals that the original substance receives and manifests. The illuminating discovery here is that your role in wealth creation isn't to manipulate external conditions directly. Your primary task is to create and maintain crystal clear mental, Images of what you desire, infuse those images with genuine emotion, and hold them with unwavering faith. These images then attract and organize the necessary conditions, resources, and opportunities for manifestation. Behind the scenes of every success story lies this exact same process, whether the person was consciously aware of it or not. The entrepreneur who built an empire first held the image of that empire in their mind with absolute clarity. The investor who created financial freedom first saw that freedom vividly in their imagination. The artist who transformed culture first envisioned that impact in their inner world. The transformation in your prosperity consciousness happens when you shift from trying to figure out how everything will come together to focusing primarily on maintaining your vision with clarity and faith. Your job isn't to micromanage the universe, it's to provide a clear blueprint that the intelligent substance can work with. Many people struggle financially not because they lack capability or opportunity, but because their mental images are confused, contradictory, or focused on what they don't want rather than what they do want. They unconsciously broadcast signals of lack, limitation, and worry, and the responsive substance faithfully creates matching experiences. What's particularly empowering about this understanding is that it's available to everyone equally. You don't need special privilege, advanced education, or rare talent to work with this creative principle. You simply need to understand your role as a center of thought and learn to use that power consciously rather than by default. This isn't about wishful thinking or denying practical reality. It's about recognizing the causal relationship between your sustained thought patterns and your material experience. The physical world may respond with timing and processes of its own, but it always, inevitably responds to the images you consistently impress upon the formless substance. If you're beginning to recognize the profound implications of your role as a center of thought, type "I am a conscious creator" in the comments. Understanding your identity as a creative center naturally leads to a crucial question. What exactly happens when you hold an image in your mind? How does the formless substance respond to your thoughts? When you grasp how the intelligent substance responds to thought, you discover one of the most powerful mechanisms in the universe. Every single image you hold in your mind functions as a direct order sent to this responsive field of infinite potential. This isn't metaphorical. It's the actual operating principle behind all manifestation. Your mental pictures are like blueprints that the universe faithfully constructs into physical reality. Think of yourself as a mental sculptor. Just as an artist shapes clay with their hands, you shape the formless substance with your thoughts. The clay doesn't argue with the sculptor or decide to become something different. It simply takes the form impressed upon it. Similarly, the original substance doesn't judge your images as good or bad, realistic or unrealistic. It simply begins organizing itself according to the patterns you consistently impress upon it. This revelation completely transforms how you approach wealth creation. The pivotal question becomes not, "Can I have this?" but rather, "What am I currently ordering through my dominant thought patterns?" Most people unconsciously order exactly what they don't want, because they spend the majority of their mental energy focusing on problems, worries, and limitations rather than solutions, possibilities, and abundance. The awakening process involves becoming consciously aware of the images you're broadcasting. When you catch yourself visualizing debt, picturing failure, or imagining worst-case scenarios, you're literally instructing the intelligent substance to create those very conditions. The moment you recognize this pattern, you can redirect your mental energy toward what you actually desire to experience. Behind every financial breakthrough stands this fundamental principle. The person who transformed their circumstances didn't just change their actions, They first changed the internal images they were impressing upon the formless substance. Their external reality simply reorganized itself to match their dominant mental pictures. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the critical factor that determines how effectively the original substance responds to your mental images. Here's the illuminating truth. Nothing can prevent you from getting what you want except your own lack of faith or inability to maintain a clear image in your mind. The original substance always, without exception, responds to thought that is sustained with certainty. This understanding reveals why two people can apply prosperity techniques with dramatically different results. One person visualizes wealth, but simultaneously harbors doubts about whether it's possible for them. Another person holds the same vision, but maintains unshakable faith in its inevitable manifestation. The second person will invariably experience faster and more comprehensive results because their signal to the intelligent substance is clear and consistent. Faith in this context isn't blind belief or wishful thinking. It's a deep inner knowing, a settled conviction that what you've ordered from the universe is already yours in the invisible realm and is moving toward physical manifestation through natural processes. This kind of faith creates a resonance that accelerates manifestation by eliminating the resistance caused by doubt. The journey of transformation involves strengthening this faith muscle through consistent practice. Each time you choose to maintain your vision despite contrary evidence, you're developing greater capacity to impress your thoughts upon the formless substance. With the certainty required for manifestation, persistence proves equally crucial in this creative process. Many people abandon their vision just before it would have materialized because they didn't understand the natural gestation period between mental conception and physical birth. They plant the seed of their desire, but dig it up repeatedly to check if it's growing, thereby interrupting the very process that would have brought it to fruition. The original substance operates with perfect timing, not always according to your preferred schedule, but always according to natural law. The key to working harmoniously with this intelligence is maintaining your vision with unwavering faith regardless of appearances, knowing that the invisible always precedes the visible in the manifestation process. This patience doesn't mean passive waiting. It means active, faithful expectation while taking inspired action aligned with your vision. It's the difference between anxiously demanding immediate results and confidently allowing the process to unfold in divine timing. If you're beginning to recognize how your faith directly impacts your prosperity, share "My faith shapes my reality" in the comments. Understanding how the original substance responds to your mental images naturally leads us to explore another crucial element in the manifestation process: the extraordinary power of visualization when combined with emotional intensity. The true power of visualization emerges when you understand that it's not merely a mental exercise, it's a creative act that directly engages with the original substance. Many people visualize sporadically, creating mental pictures that flicker like a candle in the wind, present one moment, gone the next. This inconsistency produces minimal results because the formless substance doesn't respond strongly to intermittent signals. The transformation occurs when you visualize with unwavering faith, maintaining your mental image with such conviction that it remains clear and vibrant even when your physical circumstances seem to contradict it. This steadfast commitment to your vision in the face of contrary evidence is what distinguishes casual daydreaming from true creative visualization. Consider how a pregnant woman carries her child. She doesn't need constant external confirmation that the baby is developing. She maintains absolute faith in the natural process unfolding within her. Similarly, when you conceive a prosperity vision in your mind, You must nurture and protect it with the same unwavering confidence, knowing that the invisible always precedes the visible in the manifestation process. This level of faith requires a fundamental shift in consciousness. Instead of being swayed by constantly changing external conditions, you anchor yourself in the unchanging truth that what you can clearly envision and emotionally connect with is already taking form in the unseen realm. Your current circumstances reflect your past thinking, not your future possibilities. Behind every remarkable success story stands this same principle. Those who create extraordinary results aren't necessarily more talented or privileged than others. They simply possess the rare ability to maintain their vision with absolute faith, despite temporary setbacks or contradictory evidence. They understand that doubt interrupts the creative flow, while consistent faith accelerates it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the profound nature of desire itself. The desire for more prosperity, more expression, more impact, more joy, isn't something you need to apologize for or suppress. It's actually the universe itself speaking through you, urging you toward greater expansion and fulfillment. Look at the fundamental pattern of all life, from the microscopic to the cosmic scale. Everything in nature strives toward greater expression. A seed doesn't question whether it should become a tree. A river doesn't hesitate to flow toward the ocean. A star doesn't doubt its right to shine. This irresistible impulse toward expansion is woven into the very fabric of existence. The revelation that transforms your relationship with prosperity is recognizing that your desires for wealth, growth, and expansion aren't random or superficial whims. They're echoes of the universal life force seeking greater expression through your unique being. When you feel that pull toward creating something bigger, serving more people, or experiencing greater abundance, you're feeling the cosmic impulse that drives all creation. This understanding liberates you from the guilt or hesitation that many people feel about their aspirations. Your authentic desires aren't ego-driven fantasies. They're divine whispers guiding you toward your highest expression. The universe itself is inviting you to expand, to create, to manifest in increasingly magnificent ways. The journey of awakening involves distinguishing between conditioned wants, those imposed by social pressure or comparison, and authentic desires that emerge from your deepest self. The latter carry a different energetic signature. They feel expansive rather than contractive, inspiring rather than depleting, connected rather than isolated. These authentic desires are literally the voice of life speaking through you. What's particularly illuminating about this understanding is that it aligns your prosperity goals with the fundamental creative principle of the universe. You're no longer pushing against the current of life, you're flowing with it. You're no longer begging for something outside yourself, you're expressing something essential within yourself. Many people remain trapped in scarcity because they've been taught to distrust or suppress their desires. They believe wanting more somehow makes them greedy or unspiritual. But this perspective fundamentally misunderstands the nature of desire as life's motivating force. The impulse toward greater expression isn't something to overcome. It's something to honor and channel with conscious awareness. When you embrace your authentic desires as the universe speaking through you, you align yourself with the primary creative current of existence. This alignment naturally accelerates manifestation because you're working with life rather than against it. If this perspective on desire as life's motivating force resonates with something you've always intuitively felt, write, "I honor my authentic desires" in the comments. Understanding desire as the universe's expansion impulse flowing through you naturally leads us to explore the great principle that governs how this creative energy transforms from invisible potential into visible manifestation. At the heart of all wealth creation lies what I call the great principle, the fundamental truth that thought is the only force capable of producing prosperity from the formless substance. This isn't metaphorical or philosophical. It's the literal mechanism through which invisible potential becomes visible reality. When you clearly fix an image in your mind and hold it with unwavering faith, the original substance begins working immediately to give that image physical form. This revelation transforms your entire approach to manifestation. Nothing exists in the physical world that didn't first exist as a thought. Every invention, every building, every business, every fortune, all began as mental images that someone held with sufficient clarity and conviction to impress upon the formless substance. Your thoughts aren't just passive reflections of reality, they're the primary creative force shaping your experience. The journey of awakening involves recognizing that wealth creation doesn't begin with external action, but with internal vision. The actions you take are secondary, necessary but secondary, to the mental blueprint you establish first. This sequence cannot be reversed. Trying to create prosperity through action alone, without first establishing the clear mental image, is like trying to build a house without architectural plans. Behind every remarkable success story stands this identical pattern. Those who achieve extraordinary results aren't necessarily working harder than others. They're working with a fundamentally different understanding of the creative process. They establish crystal-clear mental images first, then allow their actions to flow naturally from those images, rather than scattered efforts hoping to stumble upon success. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the critical factor that determines how quickly the formless substance responds to your thought. The illuminating truth is that clarity accelerates manifestation. You must know precisely what you want and keep it foremost in your mind without allowing anything to erase or divert it. The clearer your image, the faster the substance will respond to your thought. This understanding explains why so many people struggle with inconsistent results in their prosperity journey. Their mental images are vague, constantly shifting, or contaminated with contradictory thoughts. One day, they visualize financial freedom. The next, they worry about bills. One moment, they picture business success. The next, they entertain thoughts of failure. This mental inconsistency creates a confused signal that the intelligent substance cannot respond to clearly. The breakthrough comes when you develop laser-like clarity about your desires. Instead of the nebulous wish to have more money, you establish a precise vision of exactly how much wealth you want to create, what you'll do with it, how it will feel to possess it, and what impact it will have on your life and others. This specificity functions like focusing sunlight through a magnifying glass. It intensifies the creative power of your thought to the point where manifestation becomes inevitable. Many people resist this level of clarity because they fear disappointment if their specific vision doesn't materialize exactly as imagined. But this hesitation fundamentally misunderstands how the creative process works. Clarity isn't about rigid attachment to particular outcomes. It's about providing the formless substance with a definite pattern to work with, rather than confusing it with vague impressions. The transformation in your prosperity consciousness happens when you commit to absolute clarity, despite any inner resistance. You decide exactly what you want, visualize it in vivid detail, and refuse to dilute that vision with doubt, fear, or competing desires. This unwavering focus creates a resonant field that begins drawing the elements of your vision toward you through both visible and invisible channels. What's particularly powerful about this understanding is that clarity functions as both a creative force and a filtering mechanism. When you know precisely what you want, you automatically begin recognizing opportunities related to your vision that previously would have gone unnoticed. Your mind becomes attuned to the specific frequency of your desire, picking up signals that were always broadcasting but were outside your range of perception. This revelation also transforms your decision-making process. Instead of evaluating choices based on limited perspectives like immediate comfort or others' expectations, you assess every opportunity against your crystal-clear vision. Does this action move me toward my clearly defined goal or away from it? This simple but profound filter eliminates the confusion that keeps most people stuck in perpetual indecision. The journey toward prosperity becomes infinitely more direct when you establish and maintain this level of clarity. Rather than zigzagging through life hoping to eventually arrive at success, you move with purpose and precision toward your vision. Every step builds on the previous one because they're all aligned with the same clear mental image. If this perspective on clarity as a creative force resonates with your own experience, write "Clarity creates reality" in the comments. Understanding the power of clarity naturally leads us to explore another essential aspect of the manifestation process: the relationship between your vision and the method by which it comes into physical form. One of the most liberating insights in this wealth creation journey comes when you understand the proper division of labor between you and the universal intelligence. You shouldn't worry about how your desire will manifest. That's the work of the original substance. Your task is to maintain the image with unwavering faith and act as if it were already an accomplished fact. This clear understanding instantly removes the anxiety that blocks most people's manifestation process. Think about how most approach their dreams. They spend endless hours worrying about the exact pathway, calculating every potential obstacle, and becoming overwhelmed by the apparent complexity of it all. This mental strain actually interrupts the natural flow of manifestation by introducing doubt, fear, and limitation into what should be a clear creative signal. It's like planting a seed and then digging it up repeatedly to see if it's growing, thereby preventing the very growth you're trying to observe. The breakthrough occurs when you recognize that your role isn't to figure out all the hows. The intelligence that created galaxies, designed DNA, and orchestrates the infinite complexity of nature is perfectly capable of arranging the circumstances, opportunities, and resources necessary to manifest your vision. Your job is to hold the what with clarity and conviction, allowing the universal mind to handle the how through its infinite wisdom. This doesn't mean you become passive, quite the opposite. You take inspired action based on the opportunities that naturally arise, but without the anxious attachment to specific pathways. This relaxed alertness allows you to recognize doors opening that a stressed, tunnel-visioned mind would completely miss. It's the difference between forcing your way through a maze and being guided through it by an intelligence that can see the entire pattern from above. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the critical factor that transforms mere visualization into actual creation. Faith is the bridge between the mental image and its manifestation. Not blind faith or wishful thinking, but a deep, unshakable knowing that what you've envisioned is already accomplished in the invisible realm and is moving toward physical expression through natural law. This illuminating understanding explains the fundamental difference between dreaming and creating. Everyone can dream, anyone can close their eyes and picture a better life. But few can maintain the unwavering belief necessary to impress that image upon the formless substance with sufficient power to cause manifestation. This is precisely why many hear about visualization techniques but experience minimal results. They're dreaming without the catalytic element of faith. The transformation in your prosperity consciousness happens when you recognize that faith isn't something mystical or reserved for the spiritually gifted. It's a faculty that you can develop through consistent practice, just as you would strengthen a muscle through regular exercise. Each time you choose to believe in your vision, despite contrary evidence, you're strengthening your faith muscle and increasing your creative power. What's particularly revealing about this principle is that faith functions as an energetic amplifier. When you combine a clear mental image with absolute faith, you create a resonance that the universe cannot ignore. Your desire is no longer a mere wish floating in a sea of competing thoughts. It becomes an irresistible command that the intelligent substance must obey. This is why people with unshakable faith seem to manifest miracles, while others with identical desires but wavering belief struggle to create meaningful change. The journey toward mastery involves practicing what I call faith beyond evidence, maintaining your conviction not because external circumstances support it, but because you understand the creative sequence. The physical manifestation doesn't come first to justify your faith. Your faith comes first to generate the manifestation. This reversal of conventional thinking is what separates conscious creators from passive hopers. Behind every remarkable success story stands this same pattern. Those who achieved seemingly impossible goals didn't wait for evidence before believing. They believed first, maintained that belief through challenges, and eventually created the evidence through their unwavering faith. They understood that faith isn't a response to reality. It's the force that shapes reality. This understanding transforms your entire approach to wealth creation. Instead of waiting for signs that you're on the right track, you provide the unwavering faith first, knowing that the signs will follow as natural consequences. If this perspective on faith as a creative force resonates with something you've intuitively known, write "faith before evidence" in the comments. Understanding faith as the bridge between vision and manifestation naturally leads us to explore an even more fundamental aspect of prosperity consciousness: the extraordinary power that exists when faith becomes so integrated that it breaks through all barriers of doubt. When you truly understand the nature of faith in the creative process, you witness one of the most extraordinary forces in the universe. No barrier, no circumstance, no limitation, no obstacle can permanently resist a mind that has made the unshakable decision to believe in big things. This isn't motivational rhetoric. It's a fundamental principle of how consciousness interfaces with the formless substance to create reality. Most people misunderstand faith as passive hope or blind belief, but authentic faith is actually a living, active force that literally transforms the invisible into visible. It's the absolute conviction that what you hold in your mind is already real in the unseen realm, though not yet perceptible to your physical senses. This kind of faith doesn't wait for evidence. It becomes the evidence that eventually manifests in your tangible experience. The bare revelation that transforms your prosperity consciousness is recognizing that faith operates as a vibrational signature that the universe responds to immediately. When you achieve that rare state of unwavering belief, you emit a frequency that begins reorganizing the quantum field around you. Doors that seemed permanently closed suddenly open. Resources that appeared unavailable mysteriously materialize. People who can help you enter your life at precisely the right moment. Behind every extraordinary breakthrough in human history stands this identical principle. The Wright brothers didn't have proof that human flight was possible before they achieved it. They maintained unshakable faith despite countless failures and widespread skepticism. Thomas Edison didn't have evidence that the light bulb would work after thousands of unsuccessful attempts. He persisted with absolute conviction until manifestation occurred. Their faith wasn't a response to evidence. It was the creative force that eventually produced the evidence. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing how faith translates into tangible results through its impact on your actions. Faith isn't merely an internal state, it's the fuel that powers consistent, purposeful action even when immediate results aren't apparent. It's the certainty that keeps you moving forward when all external voices tell you to stop, when logic suggests surrender, when circumstances tempt you to abandon your vision. This understanding illuminates why two people can take identical actions with dramatically different outcomes. One person acts from doubt, fear, and desperation, going through the motions but internally expecting failure. Another person performs the exact same actions but from a foundation of absolute faith, moving with confidence, clarity, and conviction. The second person inevitably creates superior results because their actions carry a completely different energetic signature. The transformation in your prosperity journey happens when you recognize that faith doesn't just influence your thoughts, it completely reshapes your decisions, your perseverance, and your ability to recognize opportunities. When you truly believe in the inevitable success of your vision, you naturally take bolder actions, persist through challenges that would stop others, and notice possibilities that the doubtful mind filters out completely. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that faith creates a positive feedback loop in your manifestation process. Initial faith leads to inspired action, which produces small results, which strengthen faith further, which generates more effective action, which creates bigger results, and so on, in an upward spiral of expanding prosperity. This explains why those who break through initial resistance often experience accelerating success. They've activated this faith-action result cycle. Many people miss this critical insight and instead operate from what I call conditional faith, the attitude that says, "I'll believe when I see evidence." But this inverted approach fundamentally misunderstands the creative sequence. Evidence doesn't produce faith. Faith produces evidence. The person who waits for proof before believing will remain trapped in their current circumstances indefinitely, while the person who believes first and acts from that belief creates new circumstances that eventually validate their faith. This principle applies regardless of your starting point. Whether you're building a business from scratch, transforming your financial situation from debt to abundance, or creating wealth through investments, the faith that drives consistent action despite temporary setbacks is what ultimately determines your success. It's not talent, connections, or even knowledge that creates extraordinary results, but the unwavering conviction that manifests as persistent, focused action. The journey toward prosperity mastery involves developing what I call resilient faith, not the fragile kind that shatters at the first obstacle, but the unshakable kind that grows stronger with each challenge overcome. This resilient faith becomes your prosperity compass, guiding your decisions and actions even when the path ahead isn't clearly visible. If this understanding of faith as the driving force behind effective action resonates with your experience, write "Faith drives my action" in the comments. Understanding how faith powers action naturally leads us to explore another crucial dimension of prosperity consciousness, the awakening that occurs when you recognize the deeper truth about who you really are and how this awareness transforms your entire relationship with abundance. As you journey deeper into the science of wealth creation, you arrive at what might be the most profound revelation of all, an awakening that completely transforms your relationship with prosperity. True power isn't found in what you possess externally, but in what you recognize within yourself. This isn't philosophical abstraction, it's the practical foundation for sustainable abundance. Most people spend their lives looking outward for solutions, validation, and power. They believe if they could just acquire enough things, achieve enough status, or receive enough approval, they would finally feel complete. But this outside-in approach inevitably leads to frustration because it fundamentally misunderstands where power actually resides. The transformative insight is that when your inner vision truly awakens, the external world ceases to be a mysterious force happening to you and becomes instead a reflection of your inner state of being. This shift in perception changes everything about how you create prosperity. Instead of struggling to manipulate external conditions, you focus on cultivating the internal consciousness that naturally attracts abundance. Think about how most people experience financial challenges. They see themselves as victims of economic circumstances, market conditions, or the actions of others. But those who have experienced this awakening recognize a different reality, that their external financial situation perfectly mirrors their internal prosperity consciousness. This recognition doesn't blame or shame, it empowers by revealing where true creative control exists. Behind every remarkable wealth transformation stands this identical pattern: someone who stopped trying to change their circumstances directly and instead changed their consciousness, allowing their circumstances to reorganize themselves in response. This isn't magical thinking. It's understanding the creative sequence through which all manifestation occurs. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing one of the most commonly overlooked aspects of prosperity consciousness. The illuminating truth is that the most powerful principles are almost always the simplest ones. Truth isn't hidden in complexity. Greatness isn't found in impenetrable structures or convoluted systems. The most direct, most essential understanding is usually the truest, yet people consistently overlook it while searching for sophisticated formulas. This revelation explains why so many struggle despite consuming endless information about wealth creation. They're looking for complexity when the answer lies in simplicity. They're seeking the secret technique, the hidden strategy, the complex system that will magically transform their finances, when the most powerful approaches have always been the simplest ones, consistently applied. Consider the journey of those who have created extraordinary wealth. While the specifics of their paths differ, the fundamental principles they applied were remarkably simple: clarity of vision, unwavering faith, persistent action, and adaptation based on feedback. The power wasn't in the complexity of their strategies, but in their commitment to these basic principles applied with absolute consistency. The awakening process involves recognizing that you've been overlooking the simple truths while chasing complex solutions. The mind often resists simplicity because it doesn't feel significant enough to create meaningful change. We've been conditioned to believe that important transformations require complicated processes, when in reality, the opposite is usually true. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that simplicity creates sustainability. Complex systems eventually break down because they have too many failure points. Simple principles, deeply internalized and consistently applied, create lasting results precisely because they can be maintained indefinitely without exhaustion or confusion. Many seekers of prosperity spend years jumping from one complex system to another, never allowing any approach enough time to bear fruit. They mistake complexity for sophistication and simplicity for naivety. But those who master wealth creation eventually discover that the power was always in the simple fundamentals they initially dismissed as too basic to matter. The transformation in your prosperity consciousness happens when you stop searching for the complex secret and commit instead to mastering the simple fundamentals with extraordinary consistency. When you recognize that awakened consciousness combined with simple, powerful principles creates more abundance than complicated strategies implemented with confused consciousness, If this understanding of the power of simplicity resonates with something you've been discovering on your own journey, write "Simplicity is profound" in the comments. The recognition that true power resides in your awakened consciousness and is expressed through simple principles naturally leads us to explore another essential dimension of prosperity creation: the invisible force of will that converts potential into reality. Beneath the visible actions that create prosperity lies an even more fundamental force, one that often goes unrecognized yet determines the ultimate outcome of every wealth journey. Will is the hidden energy that literally moves worlds, breaks chains, and transforms the seemingly impossible into the inevitable. This isn't willpower in the conventional sense of forcing yourself to do difficult things. It's a deeper, more subtle power, an invisible current that flows beneath your conscious thoughts and visible actions. Look closely at any remarkable achievement in human history. Every empire built, every fortune created, every innovation that transformed society, all share a common root: an invisible will that pushed beyond doubts, failures, and what others dismissed as impractical or illogical. This force doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It operates silently, consistently, and with unwavering determination. Most people experience will as occasional bursts of motivation or inspiration, fleeting moments that come and go. But this isn't true will. It's merely temporary impulse. Authentic will is steady, quiet, and unwavering. It's the force that maintains your course when motivation fades, when obstacles appear insurmountable, when everyone around you suggests surrender. It's what separates those who eventually manifest their vision from those who abandon theirs at the first serious challenge. Think of your life as a ship navigating the ocean. The winds may change direction, waves may crash against your vessel, storms may temporarily block your view of the stars, but will is the rudder that keeps you steadily moving toward your destination despite these changing conditions. Without a firm hand on this rudder, you drift wherever external forces push you. The revelation that transforms your prosperity consciousness is recognizing that will isn't something you occasionally summon for difficult tasks. It's a faculty you can develop and strengthen until it becomes your dominant way of engaging with life. Like any muscle, your will grows stronger through consistent exercise. Each time you choose discipline over immediate gratification, your will increases in power. Each time you fulfill a commitment to yourself, your will becomes more unshakable. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the most fundamental principle underlying all prosperity creation. Don't seek outside what you haven't yet planted within. This isn't metaphorical advice. It's a literal description of how manifestation works. If your inner world is in chaos, your outer world will inevitably reflect that same chaos. But when you cultivate clarity, purpose, and peace within your consciousness, the entire universe begins responding to that frequency. This understanding completely reverses the conventional approach to wealth creation. Most people focus exclusively on changing external conditions, finding better opportunities, acquiring more resources, connecting with more influential people. And while these external actions certainly have their place, they remain ineffective when your inner state contradicts your outer efforts. The illuminating truth is that your outer world functions as a precise mirror of your inner world, not sometimes, not occasionally, but always, and without exception. This isn't philosophy, it's the operational principle of consciousness itself. The exact patterns of thought, emotion, and belief that you cultivate internally will inevitably materialize in your external experience, often in ways too precise to be dismissed as coincidence. Many seekers of prosperity make the mistake of trying to rearrange external circumstances while leaving their internal landscape untouched. They're essentially attempting to harvest what they haven't planted, to gather fruit from seeds they've never sown. This inverted approach creates the frustrating cycle of temporary improvements followed by returns to the same limitations. The breakthrough in your wealth journey occurs when you realize that transformation works from the inside out, never from the outside in. When you take full responsibility for cultivating your internal garden, planting seeds of abundance, watering them with faith, removing weeds of doubt and limitation, the external manifestation naturally follows through immutable law. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that it places the creative power directly in your hands, regardless of current circumstances. You don't need anyone's permission to transform your inner world. No external authority can prevent you from cultivating clarity, purpose, and abundance consciousness within yourself. This inner work remains completely within your sovereignty, regardless of what's happening around you. The journey toward prosperity mastery involves developing what I call inner coherence, a state where your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions all align with the abundance you intend to create. This coherence generates a powerful, resonant field that begins reorganizing external reality to match your internal pattern. If this understanding of inner transformation as the foundation for outer prosperity resonates with your experience, write "inner creates outer" in the comments. Understanding the relationship between inner transformation and outer manifestation naturally leads us to explore another crucial dimension of prosperity consciousness: the hidden power of invisible action that often precedes visible results. As we explore deeper dimensions of prosperity consciousness, we encounter a profound truth that often goes unrecognized, one that completely transforms how you create lasting abundance. What truly builds your destiny isn't what appears on the surface, but what you sow in the silence of your soul. The most powerful actions aren't necessarily the visible ones that others can witness and applaud, but the invisible ones that occur in the private sanctuary of your consciousness. Consider how most people approach wealth creation. They focus almost exclusively on external actions, working longer hours, making more calls, attending more meetings, creating more content. And while these visible actions certainly play their role, they represent only the tip of the iceberg in the manifestation process. Beneath the surface, invisible actions are often determining the ultimate outcome of all your visible efforts. These invisible actions include the quality of your thought when nobody's watching, the nature of your self-talk in private moments, the emotions you cultivate when facing challenges, and the vision you maintain despite contradictory circumstances. These unseen activities function as seeds planted in fertile soil, invisible at first, but inevitably emerging into visible reality through natural law. The revelation that transforms your entire prosperity journey is recognizing that these invisible actions actually precede and shape the visible ones. The quality of your internal dialogue determines the effectiveness of your external communication. The clarity of your private vision influences the precision of your public actions. The depth of your silent conviction affects the power of your spoken words. Behind every remarkable success story stands this identical pattern. Someone who first conquered the invisible realm before their victory became apparent in the visible world. They mastered their thoughts before mastering their circumstances. They achieved internal clarity before achieving external results. They developed unwavering faith in private before demonstrating unwavering effectiveness in public. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what might be the most liberating insight of all, one that completely dissolves the fundamental fear underlying most people's financial struggle. You are not separate from the universal presence. There is no distance that can separate you from what is essentially one. The human error that creates Unnecessary suffering is believing we walk alone, dependent on luck, circumstances, or external help. This isn't philosophical abstraction, it's the operational truth of your relationship with the source of all abundance. The universal intelligence that orchestrates galaxies, designs ecosystems, and coordinates the infinite complexity of life isn't something distant that you need to reach, convince, or appease. It's the very essence of what you are, expressing itself through your unique consciousness. The illuminating truth is that you never face any situation alone, because the presence that sustains all of existence flows through you as you. When you make decisions, when you take actions, when you maintain faith despite challenges, you're not doing these things as an isolated fragment hoping for connection. You're doing them as an individualized expression of the universal whole that is already inseparably connected. Most seekers of prosperity make the devastating mistake of approaching abundance from a stance of separation, believing they must somehow bridge an imaginary gap between themselves and the source of supply. This perceived separation creates the anxiety, fear, and desperation that actually blocks the natural flow of abundance that would otherwise express through them effortlessly. The breakthrough in your prosperity consciousness happens when you recognize that you don't need to build a bridge to what you're already standing upon. You don't need to connect with what you've never been disconnected from. You don't need to appeal to what is already expressing as you. This recognition instantly dissolves the fundamental insecurity that keeps most people trapped in limitation. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that it completely transforms your approach to challenges. When you truly comprehend that you're never separated from the universal presence, obstacles no longer appear as threats to your survival, but as opportunities for greater expression. Financial setbacks become invitations to deeper wisdom rather than evidence of cosmic abandonment. The journey toward prosperity mastery involves cultivating what I call presence consciousness, a consistent awareness of your inseparable unity with the source of all abundance. This isn't a concept to intellectually grasp, but a reality to experientially live from. Each time you notice yourself feeling isolated, vulnerable, or dependent on external factors, you have the opportunity to remember your true relationship with the infinite supply that has never for a moment been separate from you. If this understanding of your unbreakable connection to universal presence resonates with something you've intuitively felt, write "I am the presence" in the comments. Understanding your fundamental unity with universal presence naturally leads us to explore how this awareness translates into practical creation through the power of vision, the faculty that literally commands the universe to reorganize according to your consciousness. When you recognize your unity with universal presence, you naturally discover the extraordinary creative mechanism through which this presence expresses in your life. Vision. This isn't vision in the ordinary sense of simply picturing something pleasant. It's vision as a creative force that literally commands the universe to reorganize according to your consciousness. Everything you visualize with clarity, feel with intensity, and sustain with faith inevitably manifests in your life through immutable law. Most people treat visualization as a passive mental exercise, a pleasant daydream with little connection to physical reality. But those who have mastered prosperity understand that the mind that sees clearly doesn't just imagine, it actually gives form, order, and direction to universal energy. Your focused vision functions as a template that the intelligent substance must follow, just as a blueprint guides the construction of a building. The revelation that transforms your entire wealth creation journey is recognizing that visualization isn't just a supportive technique, it's the primary creative act from which all physical manifestation springs. When you visualize with absolute clarity, infuse that vision with authentic emotion and sustain it with unwavering faith, you're not merely hoping for something to occur. You're initiating the causal sequence that must inevitably produce that result. Think about how an architect works. Before a single physical action occurs at the construction site, the entire building exists completely in the architect's vision. That mental image then guides every decision, every measurement, every material selection until the physical structure perfectly reflects the original vision. Your prosperity consciousness operates through this identical pattern. The vision precedes and shapes the physical manifestation with mathematical precision. Behind every remarkable wealth transformation stands this fundamental principle. Those who created extraordinary abundance didn't achieve it through random action or blind effort. They first established crystal-clear mental images of exactly what they intended to create, felt the emotional reality of that creation as if it already existed, and maintained unwavering faith until physical circumstances reorganized to match their internal vision. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what might be the single greatest saboteur of prosperity for most people. Every time you doubt, you literally close a door. Every time you believe, you open a path. This isn't metaphorical, it's the actual mechanism through which possibilities either manifest or dissolve in your experience. Doubt infiltrates the mind silently and persistently, weakening your creative power often without your conscious awareness. It whispers questions that seem reasonable. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not capable? What if the economy changes? What if others don't support me? Each of these seemingly innocent questions actually functions as a command to the intelligent substance, instructing it to manifest exactly the limitations you're focusing on. The illuminating truth is that what really blocks your advancement isn't external circumstances, but internal sabotage. Your own doubt functions as a circuit breaker that interrupts the flow of creative energy from vision to manifestation. This explains why two people with identical resources, connections, and opportunities can experience completely different outcomes. One allows doubt to close their doors, while the other maintains belief that opens their paths. Many seekers of prosperity make the devastating mistake of trying to overcome external obstacles while ignoring the internal doubts that actually created those obstacles in the first place. It's like trying to clear a river's path while simultaneously building a dam upstream. No amount of effort at removing external limitations will succeed while the internal doubt continues generating those very limitations. The breakthrough in your prosperity consciousness happens when you recognize doubt not as a protective mechanism, but as a creative force working against your intentions. Each doubtful thought isn't just a passive worry, it's an active instruction to the intelligent substance to create exactly what you fear. When you understand this causal relationship, you begin treating doubt with the appropriate caution it deserves. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that breaking the cycle of doubt doesn't require complex techniques or years of practice. It simply requires awareness and choice in each moment. When doubt arises, as it inevitably will, you can recognize it for what it is. Not truth, not protection, but a creative directive that contradicts your vision. In that moment of recognition lies your freedom to choose belief instead. The journey toward prosperity, mastery involves developing what I call doubt resilience, not the absence of doubt, but the ability to maintain your creative vision despite its temporary appearance. This resilience grows stronger each time you consciously choose faith over fear, clarity over confusion, possibility over limitation. If this understanding of how doubt and belief directly shape your reality resonates with your experience, write, "I choose belief over doubt" in the comments. The recognition of how vision commands the universe and how doubt sabotages this creative process naturally leads us to explore another essential dimension of prosperity consciousness, the extraordinary power of disciplined thinking. As we continue exploring the foundations of true prosperity, we encounter what many consider the most challenging aspect of this journey. Yet it's precisely what separates those who merely dream from those who actually achieve. Whoever governs their mind governs their world. This isn't motivational rhetoric. It's a literal description of how consciousness creates reality. The person who has developed the inner discipline to direct their thoughts, manage their emotions, and align their energy creates a completely different experience than one whose mind remains ungoverned. Most people resist discipline because they misunderstand its nature. They see it as restriction, limitation, or punishment, something that diminishes freedom rather than enhances it. But authentic inner discipline actually creates the ultimate freedom. Consider how a river flowing without banks disperses its energy and evaporates, while a river flowing between strong banks generates enough power to light entire cities. Your mind operates through this identical principle. The revelation that transforms your entire prosperity journey is recognizing that discipline isn't what you do to yourself, it's what you do for yourself. It's the conscious channeling of your creative energy toward specific outcomes, rather than allowing that same energy to dissipate through scattered focus, reactive emotions, or inconsistent effort. This channeled power becomes the foundation for every meaningful achievement. Behind every remarkable wealth transformation stands this fundamental attribute. Those who created extraordinary abundance didn't possess more talent, better connections, or luckier circumstances than others. What distinguished them was their capacity to govern their inner world, regardless of external conditions. They maintained clarity amidst confusion, faith amidst doubt, and purpose amidst distraction, not occasionally, but consistently through disciplined consciousness. The paradox that few understand is that whoever governs their inner world no longer depends on the exterior for happiness or fulfillment. This independence from circumstances becomes your greatest power in creating prosperity because you're no longer at the mercy of economic conditions, others' opinions, or temporary setbacks. You operate from an internal stability that naturally attracts external abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing perhaps the most overlooked yet powerful practice in consciousness development. In silence, you'll hear the voice that has always been there. This isn't some distant guidance you need to reach or earn. It's the eternal presence already manifesting within you, often drowned out by the constant noise of everyday thinking. Most people avoid silence because they misinterpret what it actually is. They equate silence with emptiness, boredom, or the absence of stimulation. But authentic silence isn't absence. It's fullness. It's not what happens when everything stops. It's what becomes apparent when the superficial chatter subsides. This silence reveals the deeper intelligence that has always been operating beneath your conscious awareness. The illuminating truth is that this silence functions as a gateway to intuitive wisdom that far exceeds logical analysis. In the quiet space between thoughts emerges guidance that seems to know exactly which opportunities to pursue, which actions to take, and which pathways lead to your highest prosperity. This guidance doesn't arrive through strenuous thinking, but through receptive listening in moments of mental stillness. Many seekers of prosperity make the devastating mistake of filling every moment with activity, information, and noise, never allowing the silent wisdom within them to emerge and be heard. They're constantly doing without ever being, constantly accumulating knowledge without accessing the deeper knowing that would make that knowledge truly effective. The breakthrough in your prosperity consciousness happens when you recognize that silence isn't just a pleasant respite from activity. It's the source field from which your most powerful inspirations, insights, and intuitive leaps will emerge. The greatest financial innovations, business ideas, and wealth strategies often arrive not through forced thinking, but through moments of receptive silence when the deeper intelligence can finally be heard. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that practicing silence doesn't require special environments or extended retreats, though these can certainly be valuable. Even brief moments of mental stillness throughout your day create openings for this deeper guidance to emerge. The discipline of temporarily suspending the constant mental chatter allows access to wisdom that was always present but previously unheard. The journey toward prosperity mastery involves developing what I call conscious listening, the capacity to quiet your analytical mind long enough to receive guidance from a deeper level of intelligence. This isn't mystical or impractical. It's accessing the full spectrum of your consciousness rather than just its surface activity. If this understanding of silence as a revelatory state rather than empty space resonates with your experience, write "Silence speaks to me" in the comments. This recognition of how disciplined consciousness and receptive silence enhance your prosperity naturally leads us to explore another crucial dimension of wealth creation: the transformative power of decisive action that breaks through the paralysis of indecision. As we deepen our exploration of prosperity consciousness, we arrive at what might be the most liberating insight of all, one that instantly breaks the invisible chains holding most people back from their true potential. The person who doubts is literally a slave to their own mind. And of all the mental bondages that restrict human freedom, indecision stands as perhaps the strongest chain. It paralyzes potential, wastes precious creative energy, and keeps countless dreams forever suspended in the realm of someday. Most people dramatically underestimate the hidden cost of indecision in their prosperity journey. They believe that delaying decisions somehow protects them from mistakes, when in reality, this hesitation creates a pattern of stagnation far more damaging than any single wrong choice could ever be. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that decision itself is a creative force, not just the outcome of that decision, but the very act of deciding. Think about how water behaves in nature. A river that flows with decision doesn't stop when it encounters stones in its path. It simply surrounds them, passes through them, or eventually drags them along with its current. This is precisely how a decided mind functions. Obstacles don't disappear, but they lose their power to stop your forward momentum. The decided mind finds ways around, through, or over whatever stands in its path. Behind every remarkable wealth transformation stands this identical pattern. Those who created extraordinary abundance weren't necessarily those who made perfect decisions. They were those who made definite decisions, and then adjusted as needed, rather than remaining paralyzed by analysis and doubt. They understood that a good decision made promptly often produces better results than a perfect decision that comes too late. The breakthrough in your prosperity consciousness happens when you recognize that deciding isn't just choosing between options, it's choosing to be a creator rather than a passive observer of your life. Each firm decision sends a powerful signal to both your subconscious mind and the intelligent universe that you're ready to move from possibility into manifestation. This signal activates resources, opportunities, and pathways that remain dormant in the state of indecision. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what might be the ultimate foundation for unshakable prosperity, regardless of external conditions. Whoever finds their center finds the greatest treasure, a peace that doesn't depend on externals, a strength that doesn't yield to the world's onslaughts. This center isn't some abstract concept. It's the core of your being that remains stable, even when everything around you is in chaos. Most people live their entire lives at the mercy of external circumstances. When markets rise, they feel secure. When economies falter, they panic. When others approve, they feel worthy. When criticism comes, they collapse. This perpetual reactivity to external conditions creates the emotional roller coaster that makes consistent prosperity impossible. True abundance can only flow through a consciousness that maintains its equilibrium, regardless of temporary conditions. The illuminating truth is that you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not your circumstances, not even your achievements or failures. You are the awareness that observes all these passing phenomena, the unchanging witness to the ever-changing show. When you locate and remain anchored in this unshakable center, you discover a foundation for wealth creation that nothing external can disturb. Many seekers of prosperity make the devastating mistake of trying to find stability in inherently unstable things. Market conditions, others' opinions, temporary achievements, or material possessions. But authentic security can only be found in that which doesn't change. And the only aspect of human experience that never changes is the pure awareness at your core. The transformation in your prosperity journey occurs when you shift from identifying with the constantly changing surface of life to anchoring in the unchanging depths of your being. From this centered state, you can engage with the world of form and action while remaining internally free from its turbulence. You can pursue goals without becoming desperately attached to specific outcomes. You can face setbacks without being emotionally devastated by them. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that finding your center isn't some esoteric achievement reserved for monks in meditation caves. It's available in every moment through the simple act of stepping back from complete identification with your thoughts and emotions long enough to recognize the awareness that perceives them. This awareness, your true nature, has never been damaged by any circumstance and never will be. If this recognition of your unshakable center as the foundation for lasting prosperity resonates with something you've intuited, write, "I am the unchanging witness" in the comments. This discovery of your unshakable center naturally leads us to explore another essential dimension of prosperity consciousness, the invisible fortress within that remains untouched by any external condition. When you've established your unshakable center, you naturally discover what might be humanity's most overlooked source of power, an invisible fortress that exists within every person yet remains unrecognized by most. Within you is a fortress never touched by failure or weakened by doubt, a silent source of power that, when recognized, transforms any obstacle into a mere stepping stone toward your victory. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's a literal description of an aspect of consciousness that remains invulnerable regardless of external circumstances. Most people live with a profound misunderstanding about the nature of their own being. They believe they are fragile, easily damaged by rejection, failure, or setbacks. This perceived vulnerability creates a constant undercurrent of fear that sabotages their prosperity journey before it truly begins. But this perception fundamentally misunderstands what you actually are at your core. The revelation that transforms your entire relationship with challenges is recognizing that your essential nature, your consciousness itself, has never been damaged by any experience and cannot be damaged by any future circumstance. It remains as pristine, powerful, and perfect as it was before you encountered any difficulty. This realization doesn't deny the reality of challenges. It simply places them in proper perspective relative to your indestructible core. Think about your life experiences. Every failure, setback, or disappointment you've ever faced has come and gone. yet something within you has remained untouched through it all. That something is this invisible fortress, the aspect of your being that witnesses experiences without becoming them. When you locate and operate from this invulnerable center, obstacles lose their power to derail. Your prosperity journey. Behind every remarkable comeback story stands this identical principle. Those who recovered from devastating setbacks to create extraordinary success weren't necessarily more talented or fortunate than others. They simply recognized, either consciously or intuitively, that their essential nature remained intact despite circumstances. This recognition allowed them to begin again with their creative power, undiminished by past experiences. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing a critical insight about timing in the manifestation process. The person who always waits for the perfect moment never harvests anything, because while they doubt, others have already sown, watered, and collected. This understanding transforms your entire approach to opportunity and action. Most people dramatically overestimate the importance of perfect conditions while underestimating the devastating cost of delay. They convince themselves that they'll take action when the economy improves, when they have more knowledge, when they feel more confident, when others approve, creating an endless cycle of postponement that keeps their dreams perpetually in the future. The illuminating truth is that indecision literally kills opportunities. While you're waiting for ideal circumstances, the universe is presenting perfect openings that require immediate response. These openings don't announce themselves with trumpets and fanfare. They appear as quiet invitations that the hesitant mind easily dismisses as not quite right or not yet ready. Think of opportunity like fertile ground in planting season. The farmer who waits for guaranteed perfect weather before planting will miss the entire growing cycle. Meanwhile, the farmer who plants despite uncertainty, knowing adjustments can be made along the way, will have a harvest to collect when the season ends. This natural law operates identically in your prosperity journey. The breakthrough in your wealth consciousness happens when you recognize that perfect action in imperfect conditions consistently outperforms perfect conditions that never arrive. The universe responds not to those who wait, but to those who initiate. Those who understand that timing isn't about waiting for external factors to align, but about aligning yourself with the natural rhythm of creation that always flows in the present moment. Many seekers of prosperity make the devastating mistake of preparing endlessly without ever launching, constantly learning, planning, and perfecting without taking the decisive action that would begin manifesting their vision. They fail to understand that implementation, even with imperfect knowledge, teaches lessons that no amount of preparation can provide. The transformation in your prosperity journey occurs when you shift from waiting for the perfect moment to perfect the moment that's available now. This doesn't mean reckless action without discernment. It means recognizing that the present moment, with all its imperfections, contains everything necessary to begin moving toward your vision. If you're finding yourself resonating with this truth about timing and opportunity, write "The time is now" in the comments. This understanding of your invisible fortress and the power of timely action naturally leads us to explore another essential dimension of prosperity consciousness. The extraordinary power that comes through mastery that doesn't seek external validation. As we explore the deeper dimensions of prosperity consciousness, we arrive at a profound understanding that often goes unrecognized in a world obsessed with external achievements. True victory isn't always celebrated with applause, accolades, or public recognition. The most significant triumph occurs in the quiet sanctuary of your own consciousness, the calmness of a soul that knows it has conquered its own mind. This silent mastery represents the ultimate achievement because it transforms everything. Else in your experience, most people spend their lives seeking validation and recognition from others, measuring their success by external metrics and social approval. But those who have discovered the deeper truth recognize that no external achievement can compare to the profound peace that comes from inner mastery. When you've conquered the chaos of your own mind, the scattered thoughts, the reactive emotions, the limiting beliefs, you've achieved something far more valuable than any material acquisition. The revelation that transforms your entire prosperity journey is recognizing that external wealth without internal mastery creates what philosophers have called a gilded prison, material comfort accompanied by inner turmoil. But when you achieve this silent mastery first, external prosperity becomes not just more accessible, but more meaningful. You create abundance from a place of fulfillment rather than from a place of lack. Think about the wealthiest people you've observed. Some achieve financial success but remain internally tormented, constantly worried, reactive, and unfulfilled despite their resources. Others emanate a quiet confidence and peace that seems untouched by circumstances. The difference isn't in their bank accounts, but in their relationship with their own consciousness. The latter have achieved the silent mastery that transforms wealth from a burden into a blessing. Behind every truly sustainable success story stands this identical pattern. Those who created lasting prosperity weren't just skilled at generating resources, they were masterful at governing their own minds. They didn't need constant external validation because they'd discovered the unshakable approval that comes from within. They didn't require continuous stimulation because they'd found the eternal wellspring of fulfillment in their own consciousness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what might be the single most powerful attribute for creating extraordinary prosperity over time. It's not raw intelligence, not special talent, not privileged connections, and not even exceptional strategy. It's constancy, the invisible force that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary through unwavering persistence. The illuminating truth is that it's not always the fastest runner who wins the race, nor the strongest who conquers the battle. It's the one who never gives up, who keeps moving forward step by step, who finally claims the prize. This principle operates with mathematical precision in the manifestation of prosperity. Consistent application of even simple principles inevitably produces remarkable results, while sporadic application of brilliant strategies leads nowhere. Consider how water transforms landscapes over time. A single raindrop makes no visible impact on stone. But the same water, falling consistently in the same place over years, carves canyons through solid rock. Your focused consciousness operates through this identical pattern. It's not the intensity of your effort in any single moment that creates lasting change, but the constancy of your direction over time. Many seekers of prosperity make the devastating mistake of constantly changing direction, jumping from one approach to another, never allowing any method sufficient time to bear fruit. They mistake novelty for progress, activity for advancement. But those who master wealth creation understand that the unsexy virtue of constancy, showing up day after day with the same clear intention, creates a momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. The breakthrough in your prosperity consciousness happens when you recognize that consistency isn't just about discipline. It's about faith made visible through action. Each time you take another step in your chosen direction, despite seeing no immediate results, you're demonstrating a profound trust in the creative process. This consistent action becomes a physical prayer, a tangible declaration of your unwavering belief in what you're creating. What's particularly revelatory about this understanding is that constancy creates compound effects in your manifestation process. Just as money compounds in a well-structured investment, your creative energy compounds when consistently directed toward the same vision. The results you see after 5 years of constancy aren't just 5 times greater than 1 year. They're exponentially greater because each consistent action builds upon all previous actions. The transformation in your prosperity journey occurs when you shift from seeking dramatic breakthroughs to embracing the quiet power of constancy. Not the flashy launch, but the steady building. Not the viral moment, but the consistent message. Not the lucky break, but the daily practice. If this understanding of constancy as the ultimate prosperity superpower resonates with your experience, write "Consistency is my power" in the comments. This recognition of silent mastery and the transformative power of constancy naturally leads us to explore how these principles come together to create an unshakable foundation for prosperity consciousness, one that allows you to maintain your creative power regardless of external circumstances. As we conclude our exploration of these timeless principles, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of discovery. If you've resonated with these insights about prosperity consciousness, I believe you're already feeling subtle shifts in how you perceive wealth, abundance, and your own creative power. The awareness you've gained today isn't just information. It's a living seed planted in your consciousness that will continue growing long after this video ends. The principles we've explored together form an unbreakable foundation for prosperity that no economic condition, no temporary setback, and no external circumstance can ever truly diminish. If these insights have sparked something within you, a recognition of truths you've perhaps always intuited but never seen articulated, I'd love to continue this journey together. Subscribe to the channel so we can explore even deeper dimensions of consciousness and creation in future conversations. Each video builds upon these foundations, creating a comprehensive pathway toward mastery of these universal laws. I believe in the power of community to accelerate growth. When like-minded individuals gather around transformative ideas, something magical happens, a resonance field that strengthens everyone's manifestation power. If you've made it all the way through this exploration, type "I am the conscious creator" in the comments. This simple declaration isn't just feedback, it's a powerful affirmation of the identity you're stepping into. If you found value in these insights, a simple like on this video helps these ideas reach others who are ready for this awakening. Your engagement creates ripples that extend far beyond what you might imagine. Right here beside this video, you'll find another exploration that builds directly on what we've covered today. Clicking on it continues our journey together as we translate these principles into even more practical applications for your prosperity journey. The wisdom doesn't end here, it's just beginning to unfold. Remember, you're not just learning about universal laws, you're remembering your innate ability to work with them consciously. The power has always been within you. Now it's time to use it.